Good morning, boys and girls of grade 9. Good morning to all the faculty members, the teachers of grade 9, the supervisors, coordinators, and dear parents. It's indeed a pleasure to inaugurate the annual exhibition pertaining to personal projects done by students of grade 9. Indeed, a lot of thinking, challenge, and research has gone into your projects, boys and girls, and that is highly commendable as you are marching upwards towards IGCSE boards in grade 10, and you've just completed your SM paid and onward to IB. So actually you've reached the base camp before you reach the summit of IBDP, IBCP, and move on to universities. So this exhibition plays a very important part in the process of your thinking, your analytical skills. In grade 10, you'll be doing IB MYP designed program of personal project, and all these exhibits which you're putting up now are stepping stones where you'll get a certificate from IB for your personal project. It's a very important milestone in your academic career. The key focus of having this activity is to instill a love of learning in each student, in making each one of you a lifelong learner, involving you in activities beyond the four walls of a classroom. As you deal with issues which are related to the world, current issues, and so many other personal issues which you think should be addressed. And that is what we call holistic education. Through these projects which you have put up, you learn from your research, your actions, you test your capacity, your intellectual capacity to go beyond, ability to investigate, ability to be inquisitive, curious, and be creative. Your exhibits include something called STEAM: science, technology, engineering, arts, maths, and involving a commitment towards technology and artificial intelligence. You're also developing new skills towards learning through your exhibits. Indeed, there are so many plus points. I take this opportunity to congratulate and say thank you to your teachers who are the moving force, who motivate you, who inspire you and guide you. And in these pandemic times, the role of parents has also become very vital. As you're doing research and work on your projects from home, parental guidance also comes in. So The African proverb, it takes a village to educate a child, has come to be so true for us. All are involved to draw out the best from you, to show you the direction. But you have to do the walking. That's what education is. And going through your projects which I have received, I'm completely impressed. Well done boys and girls, keep it up. You have lived up to the school motto, virtue et labor. I'm overwhelmed to see the different projects you all have taken up related to global issues, local issues, and the research which you've done, how you analyzed your topics, and the skills which you have developed, leadership skills, speaking skills, art and craft skills, and even teamwork. Yes, it's phenomenal. Boys and girls, you indeed deserve a pat on the back. And in these pandemic times, doing these tasks, it's indeed, I can say, a Herculean task, a challenge. And that's what makes life wonderful. I should say, boys and girls, you have been involved in raising the bar of excellence. You're raising it higher. And thank you, teachers, for building the self-esteem and confidence of our students, drawing out their hidden talents, teaching the values of perseverance. So all the teachers, your dedicated teachers, professionals, I thank them all. Hats off to all of them and your parents. And of course, to you. With these words, I wish you all the best for your exhibition. Keep thinking, keep planning, keep smiling. As you face challenges, there should be joy and effort. Congratulations.
Selamat pagi hadirin yang terhormat, nama saya Alia dari kelas 9B. Hari ini saya akan memandu Anda tentang topik polusi kantong plastik sekali pakai. Sebuah topik umum kebanyakan akan mengatakan, bagaimanapun ini adalah salah satu topik yang paling banyak diabaikan. Pertama, kita harus tahu penyebabnya. Masalah tersebut muncul dari seringnya penggunaan kantong plastik sekali pakai. Karena penggunaan kantong plastik sering menjadi hal yang lumrah di masyarakat cenderung mengabaikan pilihan lain dan tetap berpegang pada sesuatu yang sudah mereka kenal. Dalam hal ini, menggunakan kantong plastik untuk membawa barang belanjaan mereka. Hal ini telah mengakibatkan banyak efek buruk kepada lingkungan, termasuk bahaya pada hewan, polusi penyumbatan saluran, sungai dan aliran air, serta kerusakan lanskap. Pertanyaannya adalah, bagaimana kita bisa mengatasi masalah ini? Saya telah menemukan solusi sederhana namun efektif untuk masalah ini. Salah satu cara mengatasinya atau alternatif terbaik lainnya untuk kantong plastik adalah dengan menggunakan kantong yang bisa digunakan kembali. Dalam hal ini, kita semua akan membuat tas yang dapat digunakan kembali dari kaos selama kita sendiri. Ini adalah sesuatu yang dapat kita lakukan di waktu senggang dan memberikan manfaat yang lebih besar daripada berbaring diam dengan mata terpaku pada gadget kita. Segera kita akan merasakan lingkungan yang lebih sehat untuk setiap makhluk hidup. Penasaran kan bagaimana cara membuat tas-tas tersebut? Terus tonton. Ini adalah bahan-bahan yang dibutuhkan. Mulailah dengan mengukur sisi-sisi kaos. Gambarlah persegi panjang pada kaos sebagai panduan untuk memotong. Sekarang peniti sisi-sisinya ke bawah sehingga kaos tidak akan bergerak saat memotong. Sekarang potonglah dengan panduan yang sudah digambar. Setelah itu, buatlah garis pada sisi-sisi persegi panjang sebagai panduan untuk menjahit. Lanjutkan dengan menjahit melalui garis-garis itu. Sekarang jepit bagian dari sisi atas untuk mendapatkan ujung yang mulus, seperti ini. Gambar garis panduan di tempat yang sudah dilipat, karena akan dijahit. Lanjutkan dengan menjahit melalui garis-garis itu. Seperti inilah tasnya kalau sudah dibalik. Untuk pegangannya, ambil kain dan lipat menjadi 2. Gambarlah garis panduan untuk membantu. Jahitlah tempat yang terlipat. Sekarang gunakan lem cair dan rekatkan ujung-ujung agar kain tidak akan menyebar. Jahitlah pegangan ke tas. Ini adalah demonstrasi penggunaan tas yang baru saja dibuat. Terima kasih sudah menonton.
Selamat pagi Kepala Sekolah, Bimbingan, Koordinator, para guru, orang tua, dan teman-teman. Nama saya Alexandra dari kelas 9 dan untuk pameran saya akan berbicara tentang kesehatan remaja perempuan muda. Sebagai seorang remaja, saya mengalami pubertas secara langsung dan pertumbuhannya. Tapi, terkadang ada beberapa masalah yang terjadi selama prosesnya. Perubahan dari menjadi anak-anak dan beralih menjadi orang dewasa terkadang sulit. Dalam prosesnya, kita akan terus melihat tubuh dan pola pikir kita berubah. Ini adalah saat ketika kita mulai mengeksplorasi identitas dan seksualitas kami. Tiap remaja pasti akan melalui tahap pubertas. Dalam presentasi ini, saya akan fokus pada remaja putri. Pubertas bagi putri dimulai pada usia 8-14 tahun dan akan mulai terlihat beberapa tanda pertumbuhan seperti pinggul yang melebar, bulu tubuh lebih banyak, perbedaan tinggi badan, dan banyak lagi. Tiap wanita pasti menghadapi siklus menstruasi. Dalam siklus menstruasi ada 4 fase. Fase pertama adalah fase menstruasi, setelah itu fase folikuler, ovulasi, dan fase luteal. Kesehatan mental merupakan peran penting dalam pikiran remaja muda. Pada tahap ini, emosi remaja akan semakin kuat dan sensitif, sehingga remaja terkadang merasa bingung atau takut. Penyebab perasaan ini bisa karena penolakan, kegagalan yang baru saja mereka alami, dan lain-lainnya. Ini dikenalkan sebagai perfeksionisme, yaitu ketika Anda tidak membiarkan diri Anda kekurangan kesempurnaan yang menciptakan tekanan yang memengaruhi pola pikir dan kecemasan seseorang. Perfeksionisme juga dapat memengaruhi ekspektasi citra tubuh. Citra tubuh adalah cara seorang melihat dirinya sendiri. Tubuh negatif adalah pandangan yang tidak realistis tentang bagaimana seorang melihat tubuhnya. Ciri-ciri kepribadian seperti perfeksionisme dan kritik diri dapat mempengaruhi tumbuhnya citra tubuh yang negatif ini. Meski demikian, ada beberapa solusi untuk gangguan tersebut seperti mengembangkan rencana untuk hidup Anda dan masa depan Anda. Dan salah satu yang terpenting adalah percaya pada diri sendiri. Kesehatan fisik juga penting. Itu meningkatkan kekuatan otot kita, meningkatkan daya tahan kita, mencegahkan banyak penyakit dan kondisi yang mencegahkan kematian secara global. Melakukan olahraga sederhana seperti lari, jogging, dan lain-lainnya dapat meningkatkan stamina dan fleksibilitas kami. Jaga berat badan yang sehat, dan bahkan dapat membantu kesehatan mental kita. Itu dapat meningkatkan harga diri kita dan meningkatkan kepositifan kita terhadap tubuh kita. Dan terima kasih. Menjaga kesehatan fisik juga penting. Itu meningkatkan kekuatan otot kita, meningkatkan daya tahan kita, dan mencegahkan banyak penyakit dan kondisi yang lain, mencegahkan kematian secara global. Menurut Organisasi Kesehatan Dunia, lebih dari 70 juta wanita di dunia terkena diabetes, dan diperkirakan untuk melipatkan ganda pada tahun 2025. Melakukan olahraga sederhana seperti lari, jogging, dan lain-lainnya dapat meningkatkan stamina dan fleksibilitas kami, menjaga berat badan yang sehat, dan bahkan dapat membantu kesehatan mental kita. Itu dapat meningkatkan harga diri kita dan meningkatkan kepositifan kita terhadap tubuh kita. Sekian, terima kasih.
Good morning. When our exhibition was first announced, I felt like taking up an issue nobody talks about these days, and I wanted to spread awareness about it. So the topic which immediately came across my mind was saving the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is by far the biggest and most diverse coral systems to ever exist. It is complex, colorful, and it stretches to more than 1,250 miles. Australia's Great Barrier Reef has lost more than half of its corals since 1995 due to warmer seas driven by climate change. Scientists have found that all types of corals had suffered a decline across the world's largest reef system. Globally, our climate change is undergoing climate change? Oh no! Oh no! Good morning. When our exhibition was first announced, I felt like taking up an issue nobody talks about these days, and I wanted to spread awareness about it. So the topic which immediately came across my mind was saving the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is by far the biggest and most diverse coral systems to ever exist. It is complex, colorful, and it stretches to more than 1,250 miles. Australia's Great Barrier Reef has lost more than half of its corals since 1995 due to warmer seas driven by climate change. Scientists have found that all types of corals had suffered a decline across the world's largest reef system. Globally, our climate is undergoing fundamental shifts, both in changing average weather conditions and the frequency of extreme weather events. Most notably, the Earth's climate system is unequivocally warming, and it is extremely likely that these changes are in large part a result of human activities. This also states that bleaching and global warming are correlated. The steepest falls came after mass bleaching events in 2016 and 17. More mass bleaching occurred this year. How could such a tragedy be unfolding given that the Great Barrier Reef has been a marine park since 1975 and more than one-third has gone completely unfished since 2004? As with most cases of reef decline, there is no single explanation. As we all know, the Great Barrier Reef is one of the most diverse ecosystems of corals to ever exist. An ecosystem or biome describes a single environment and every living or biotic organism and non-living abiotic factor that is contained within it or characterizes it. An ecosystem embodies every aspect of a single habitat, including all interactions between its different elements. Changes to the reef must be monitored closely with an overall objective of reducing global greenhouse gas emissions. As the IUCN put it, limiting global average temperature to well below 2 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels and pursuing efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius in line with the Paris Agreement on Climate Change provides the only chance for the survival of coral reefs globally. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Atharva and I'm from class 9B. Today I'm gonna talk about drug addiction. I'd like to thank my mentor Sir Deepak for his guidance and support. Why I chose this topic? I chose drug issues as my topic because drug issues is a serious problem in many countries. I chose this topic to spread awareness in the society about its effect in the human body. What are drugs? Drugs are substances that change in person's mental or physical state. They can affect the way your brain works, how you feel and behave, your understanding and your senses. Nicotine is a highly addictive chemical in the drugs. It can cause an increase in blood pressure, heart rate, flow of blood to the heart, and narrowing of the arteries. Advantages of pharmaceutical drugs. The benefits of pharmaceutical drugs are the helpful effects you get, such as easing pain, controlling blood sugar, lowering blood pressure, or curing an infection. Disadvantage of drugs. A weakened immune system increases the risk of illness infection. Increased strain on the liver, which puts the person at a risk of significant liver damage or liver failure. There are many lung diseases due to the drugs. Global effects of drugs on the body, such as breast development in men and increasing the body temperature, which can lead to other health problems. What is drug addiction? Drug addiction is also called the substance use disorder and is a disease that affects a person's brain and behavior and leads to an inability to control the use of legal or illegal drugs. Substances such as alcohol, marijuana, and nicotine are also considered drugs. When you are addicted, you may continue using the risk of addiction and how fast you become addicted. Why do people get addicted to drugs? The genes that people are born with account for about half of a person's risk for addiction. Gender and the presence of other mental disorders may also influence risk for drug use and addiction. The initial decision to take drug is voluntary for most people, but repeated drug use can lead to brain changes that challenge an addictive person itself. Country with the most drug problems. Drug use has become a huge problem in Russia, especially among teenagers and young adults. Russian officials say that there are 1 million heroin users, although other experts believe the number is closer to 2 million. The country's drug use rose dramatically after the fall of the Soviet Union in 1990s. What is the solution to the drug addiction? Admit there's a problem. First thing you must admit you have an addiction. Be accountable to someone. Exercise every day. Break the habit so it can help you to stop using drugs. Discover a new hobby. If you discover a new hobby, it helps you give more interest in the hobby that you have been chosen. Love yourself and stay confident. Staying confident will help you to stay powerful and it can overcome the problems. Call for help. You need to share your problems and call for help. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chavi, and today I'll be talking about economic growth versus economic development. Economic growth is an increase in the production of goods and services over a specific period. It creates more profit for businesses. As a result, stock prices rise. That gives companies capital to invest and hire more employees. Benefits of economic growth. Increases in economic growth should enable more of everything to be produced. More consumer goods could be equated with an increase in living standards. Economic development is the creation of wealth from which community benefits are realized. It is a process of deliberate interventions in the normal economic growth by making it easier and more attractive. Indicators of economic development. The process in which an economy grows or changes and becomes more advanced, especially when both economic and social conditions are improved. Economic development takes into the following information: average life expectancy, education standards, literacy rates, availability of housing, access to healthcare, income per capita. Economic development of countries before and after the pandemic. Number 1, US. The economy of the United States is a highly developed mixed economy. The US economy came to a sudden stop as COVID-19 became a pandemic. During lockdown, unemployment rate rose to 14.7%. Number 2, India. After more fundamental reforms since 1991 and the renewal in the 2000s, India has progressed towards a free market economy. Major companies in India have temporarily suspended or significantly reduced operations during lockdown. Number 3, China. China has been among the world's fastest growing economy. China's economy shrank 6.8% due to nationwide lockdowns. This is a graph of United States economic development throughout the years. As you can see, from 2019 to 2020, their development has shrunken by 5%. India's has shrunken by 6% and China's by 7%. The difference between economic growth and economic development. One of their differences is that economic growth has short-term process and economic development has long-term process. And one of their similarities are both of them require investment. Thank you.
My name is Cherry and my topic is child poverty. I have made a website as a solution to help prevent child poverty. Child poverty refers to children who are living in poverty, whether they are from poor families or orphans, or raised with insufficient or absent state resources. These children who do not reach the minimum acceptable standards of the country in which they live are considered to be poor. What causes child poverty? Number 1. Poor and unemployed parents. Children living in poverty are often born to parents living in poverty, creating a cycle. There are a variety of reasons why parents living in poverty may have a large number of children, which includes high infant mortality rates, a lack of contraception and education, patriarchal value system, forced marriage, religious belief, and the need to support the larger family. Number two, lack of education. When children are born to parents living in poverty, they have less opportunities for schooling and education. Especially in agricultural communities, they often end up assisting their family with agricultural work, thus entering a vicious circle where they are unable to improve their educational skills, which would enable them with possibilities for greater earning in the future. Number three, disability. Disabled people in poor communities in developing countries would sometimes be referred to as the poorest of the poor, as they must contend with physical disabilities in addition to challenging economic circumstances. As a result, disabled children may have the hardest life of all. Some consequences of child poverty are poor physical health, mental health problems, low sense of well-being, underachieving at school, poor employment prospects in adult life, social deprivation and stigma, and lack of physical safety and security. Children in poverty could have their adulthood affected. Adults who grew up in poverty had a higher level of chronic physical stress during their childhood to adulthood. It was proven through a new study that was conducted followed by participants over 15 years. How to prevent child poverty. Individuals, local populations, families, and schools, as well as local and national governments and global organizations must all work together to tackle child poverty. Many charities run highly effective initiatives that have significant effects on the lives of poor children. Education is one of the most powerful strategies for overcoming poverty, where children who are given the opportunity to study will be able to raise money to help their own family in the future. Feeding a young mind is important, as hunger drives kids out of school and make it difficult for them to concentrate while they are there. A school breakfast or lunch program, on the other hand, would be a significant motivation for children to attend school. Although it may be easy to help prevent child poverty, but the number of people donating are not enough compared to the increasing number of children suffering through child poverty. I hope that through this product, more people will be aware of this issue and would consider helping these children to grow in a better environment.
What is a genetic mutation disease? Genetic mutation disease, or simply known as genetic disorder, is a disease caused in whole or in part by a change in the DNA sequence away from the normal sequence. For example, look at this DNA sequence. This is considered as the person's normal sequence, while this is considered as the person's abnormal or mutated sequence. Because as you can see from the person's normal sequence, the nucleotide next to C is T. But in the mutated sequence, the nucleotide next to C is actually another C, which makes the person's DNA sequence mutated. Our genes are usually mutating all the time. This is due to our exposure to certain environmental factors known as mutagens. Examples of mutagens include ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, and alpha particles. We can also inherit a genetic disorder from our parents, as long as they have the abnormal gene. Effects of genetic disorder can vary from person to person, but the three most common effects are low stamina, frequent illnesses, and lack of concentration. I believe the best way to cure genetic mutation diseases is gene therapy. Gene therapy is the introduction, removal, or change in genetic material, specifically DNA or its molecule cousin RNA. The genetic material are then transferred into the cells of a patient to treat or cure the specific disease. In gene therapy, scientists can either replace your abnormal gene with a normal gene, or they can add new genes that help the body to fight or treat disease or turn off the genes that are causing the problems. Since genes can't transport themselves, we use viruses as a carrier, also known as a vector, to transport the genes to our cells, and also because viruses are very good in getting into cells and infecting them. But the infectious part of the virus is removed so that it can safely enter the nucleus of the cell. So far, gene therapy is only experimental, but I believe that it is the future of healthcare. Not only because it has the potential to eliminate diseases such as heart disease and cancer without damaging the healthy tissue, which is basically impossible nowadays, but it can also wipe out the genetic diseases before they even begin, thereby eliminating the suffering of future generations.
Climate crisis and clean energy. Climate crisis is a drastic change on the climate and temperature, which increases by 0.08 degrees Celsius per year globally. Human-made causes. Deforestation happens due to the growing population and demand in food and shelter. It also happens due to overlogging in the location, which spread up desertification. Pollutants such as carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and etc. are being released in 43 billion tons per year. Due to all human activities, including industry and algae culture, which result in global warming and acid rain. Overusing man-made fertilizer can cause algal bloom to grow rapidly in any water bodies. Natural causes. Wildfire due to high temperature and low humidity of a certain location causing wildfire to occur. Volcanic eruption occur, but when they occur, it releases a high amount of sulfur, which forms sulfur dioxide and sulfur aerosol, which blocks and scatters sunlight, which reduce global temperature. La Nina and El Nino occurs every 2 to 7 years. Generally, El Nino occurs more frequently than La Nina. They change temperature, causing hurricanes and drought. Countries that suffered from pollution are Mongolia, which suffered due to overburning of coal and the geography of the area. Oman suffered from polluted gas due to crude oil production and refining. Since Oman is a desert with no trees, the area is easily polluted. Qatar suffered from dust storm and polluted air due to vehicle and industrial emission. Prevention. Although there is no solution till date, but there is a prevention for further damage by using clean energy instead of fossil fuel to reduce carbon dioxide and pollutants emission. Thank you.
Good morning, dear supervisor, coordinator, and teachers. I'm Your Huang from 9B. Today, I would like to talk about injection without pain. The general injection which we use usually has some problems. Many people have fear of syringe as the needle makes people scary and is painful. Moreover, the needle of syringe must be put right under the skin where the immune cells are. So it is not easy to inject, and skilled doctor or nurses are needed. Due to the problems, a drug transfer patch was invented. Researchers invented it using biomimetics. Biomimetics is a way to solve complex human problems by getting ideas from nature. They came up with a very important clue, which is the fact that the structure of rear fang snake's molar is anatomically unique, and that is transferred liquid poison into the skin for seconds without pain. This principle is this. Multiple needles make small pores on the skin. The drug is then transferred by capillarity. Capillarity is a phenomenon in which a liquid moves through a tube with a small pore and does not apply any pressure. This process takes only 5 to 10 seconds to inject. It has some advantages and disadvantages. Since the size is about the diameter of a hair, it has great advantages in trouble such as infection disease and waste disposal, and it could overcome needlephobia. It does not cause any pain as it does not touch a nerve cell by penetrating less than 300 micrometers. And no need to go through clinical trials because liquid drugs do not have to be made solid like parts. However, it is very easy to use. It may be used for other purposes like illegal procedure. Injection is expected utilization in medical and cosmetic. First, it will be used in transmission of drugs such as vaccine, especially for diabetic who need daily injection. And second, the absorption rate of cosmetic with anti-wrinkle and whitening is very low, but this injection would increase the absorption rate very impressively. As a conclusion, the injection is expected to be used soon, and it will make many differences in the future. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, respected principal, sir, supervisors, coordinators, teachers, and my dear friends. I am Gavin Hendra from grade 9B, and today I am going to be talking about the different ways technology has improved to treat cardiovascular diseases. Today, I will be focusing on coronary artery disease, which is the most common type of heart disease and the major cause of deaths around the world. Research has shown that around 18.2 million adults ages 20 and older has coronary artery disease. So, how does coronary artery disease form? Coronary artery disease is also called as the narrowing down of the coronary artery, which is the main blood vessel that supplies oxygen to the heart muscle. This narrowing down is caused by the formation of plaque. Plaque is also called as fatty deposits, which is made of cholesterol, fatty substances, cellular waste products, fibrin, and calcium. This narrowing down of the blood vessel limits the oxygen supply to the heart, and in some cases, the coronary artery can be completely blocked, causing heart attacks. There are two different ways to treat coronary artery disease. The first one is coronary artery bypass surgery. This is a surgery when your healthy blood vessel is taken to bypass the blocked artery. This healthy blood vessel is usually taken from your leg. But for today, I will be focusing on balloon angioplasty. This is a type of surgery using a balloon-tipped catheter and a metal mesh, but we will get on to the details later on. There are a lot of differences between bypass grafting and angioplasty, and each has their own uses. Bypass grafting is most commonly used for patients who has a narrowed or blocked artery in more than one areas. Meanwhile, angioplasty is used for lower intensity blocking or narrowing of the blood vessel. Angioplasty is also preferred over bypass grafting during emergency situations, as inserting a metal mesh is easier and the faster method to open a blocked artery. Angioplasty is said to be quick, relatively painless, and it allows you to go back to your normal activities within a few days. This is why angioplasty is preferred for smaller surgeries. What I have here is a working model of angioplasty that I have created. I will demonstrate how angioplasty is performed. This transparent sheet of plastic acts like the blood vessel. I have also prepared a balloon and the mesh. The plaque forms on the walls of the artery, therefore narrowing it down. The first step of angioplasty is to insert the balloon inside the blood vessel using the catheter, but since I do not have a catheter, my hand will act as one. Once the balloon is inserted inside the blood vessel, it is going to be expanded, and the mesh will compress the plaque and open the blood vessel. Once done, the balloon is deflated and taken out. The mesh will remain until another surgery is needed. Thank you.
Good morning, dear principal, supervisors, coordinators, teachers, and my dear friends. I'm Gabriel from 9B. I will be talking about the different ways technology help our environment. I will be focusing on saving papers with the help of technology. We all know the invention of paper greatly helped the spread of literature and literacy significantly. But this life cycle of paper is harmful to the environment. It begins with the chopping down of trees and ends with the burning of trees, releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Let's now take a look at the infographic which I have made. Together, let's take a look at paperless productivity. Using too much paper costs a lot of money and will bring negative effects to the environment as trees will be cut down more. It lowers the quality data and doesn't afford much flexibility. It will take a longer time for a heavy workload. Paperless productivity aids in the reduction of deforestation and pollution, allowing more trees to do the dirty work of carbon dioxide absorption. With electronic documents, people can access any of them anytime. And when we apply paperless society, people can also now file and find important documents much faster, giving more flexibility. Should schools offer paperless? Definitely, yes, as paperless productivity provides several benefits. Now let's move on to paper waste facts. As you can see, every year more than half of all junk mail is discarded in landfills. Majority of the waste in offices are paper waste, and even the consumption of papers worldwide rose 400% in the past years. Let's now take a look at these certain devices that helps reduce the consumption of papers. By using electronic devices, you can reduce the amount of paper used in contracts and other legal documents. Changing office behaviors such as ceasing to use paper or printing emails and storing files digitally using document management software can also help. Electronic payments allows you to reduce costs, prevent fraud, have flexibility, and more accurate data. Paper scanners allows you to scan receipts, documents, and papers in high quality and send them as PDFs. Now you won't need to reprint documents whenever you need them. Sending documents to clients and colleagues via email rather than printing and distributing them and save much more time and money. Electronic storage are very useful for storing important information digitally instead of papers. With electronic document storage, you can enjoy a greater document security and experience a much simpler document management and reduce the amount of time and resources spent getting a document from one place to another. And now, with these devices, we all can help save the environment. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Harry, and welcome to my exhibition. In this video, I will be talking about global poverty, its causes and solutions. Global poverty is defined as the number of people worldwide who live on less than $5 to $1 a day. People who are surviving on less than basic requirements are more likely to live under poverty. There are two main types of poverty: relative and absolute poverty. Relative poverty is when a person has enough money for the basic needs to live, but is unable to go purchase anything beyond that. Extreme poverty is when a person has little to no money and it is unable to provide basic needs, such as clean water, food, and shelter. Here are some main causes of global poverty. Food. Food is a mandatory item for living, and it is claimed that 800 million people have suffered from hunger due to insufficient funds and their lack of income. Little or no access to livelihoods or jobs. Jobs are an important role to living. Without it, you are unable to live and earn money. Rural areas have seen livestock and land as their only way of income, and that is disturbed by governments making way for new residences, leading them to poverty. Conflict can result the millions to the poverty state. It is stated that Syria destroyed infrastructure and forcing and threatening families to sell or leave behind their assets and personal belongings. Solutions to global poverty: equality and representation, including people and making them feel welcome to this world, treating each other respectfully. Increase to education. Research shows that if all students in low income countries had just basic reading skills and nothing else, an estimated 171 million people could escape extreme poverty. And if adults completed secondary education, we could cut the global poverty rate by more than half. Improve food security and access to clean water. Simply eating 3 meals a day and getting a healthy amount of calories and nutrients can go a long way to addressing the cycle of poverty. End war and conflict. No war means no budgets allocated to cover the cost of conflicts can be used to deliver public services. It also reduces risks faced by the most vulnerable communities. Employment. Finding jobs that require minimum skills and is good enough to get you the basic needs, such as food, water, shelter, clean clothes, etc. Donations. We can all put a change to global poverty if we put our mind to it and help the less fortunate give a strike of hope to escape such a terrible state. Thank you for watching.
Hi, good morning dear principal, supervisors, coordinators, and teachers. I am Hubert from grade 9 and today I will be talking about how clean energy could potentially replace power plants in the near future. You might be wondering, for some time now we have been relying on methods such as power plants to globally provide electricity. Some of the much familiar power plants like coal-fired power plants, diesel-fired power plants, and many more emit certain gases due to the burning of fossil fuels. In an article from the US, it was stated that coal-fired power plants are the largest human-caused source of mercury emission in the air. It is responsible for 40% of mercury emission, which is about 40 to 52 tons of mercury released every year in the US. What is this in front of me, you may be wondering? Well, this is a working contraption of a hot water thermoelectric generator that I have constructed with the assist of my mentor. How this works is you need a source of heat suitable for transfer of energy. In this case, I have chosen hot water. First, the hot water is fed through the opening of the aluminum container, which I have insulated and assembled along with some Teflon tape. These three materials are vital in the project to contain as much heat as possible. The heat in the water is then processed to this device called the thermoelectric generator. It uses P-type and N-type semiconductors to electrically conduct in series and create the desired voltage. This is called the Seebeck effect, and soldered to the thermoelectric generator, we have an anodized heat sink to dissipate the heat created by the module, since the buildup of charge creates a voltage potential that is directly proportional to the temperature across the semiconductor. If we just turn this on, we can see that the voltage is increasing constantly. It increases by time and it reaches a certain maximum point which it can exert energy. Now, this project may be a little ineffective than normal power supplies, but in return can help save environment as it doesn't produce any waste gases. Thank you for your time.
Polusi. Polusi adalah bahan yang sangat berbahaya yang menyebabkan kerusakan lingkungan yang besar. Polusi diciptakan oleh aktivitas manusia, misalnya pabrik. Bagaimana polusi diproduksi? Pencemaran dihasilkan karena banyak hal yang berguna bagi manusia. Mobil melepaskan pencemar dari pipa knalpot, membakar batu bara untuk menghasilkan listrik juga, mengeluarkan pencemar yang mencemari udara. Industri dan rumah menghasilkan sampah dan limbah yang dapat mencemari tanah dan air. Terdiri dari apa polusi? Polusi udara terdiri dari campuran partikel padat dan gas di udara, bahan kimia dan dari pabrik, emisi mobil, debu dapat disuspensi sebagai partikel. Masalah. Polusi dapat menyebar mana saja di dunia. Polusi adalah masalah lingkungan, misalnya meracuni tanah dan saluran air, tumbuhan dan hewan terpengaruh, manusia juga terpengaruh oleh polusi. Polusi di Indonesia. Polusi di Indonesia sangat buruk. Indonesia menduduki peringkat 9 pada tahun 2020. Indonesia tercemar lebih dari rata-rata, alasannya karena sebagian besar pencemaran udara Indonesia berasal dari kebakaran hutan. Pada tahun 2015, hampir 5.000 kebakaran hutan terjadi. Alasan lain pencemaran Indonesia adalah emisi dari pembangkit listrik yang meningkat selama bertahun-tahun di sisi barat Jawa. Efek polusi. Pemanasan global. Nomor 2, perubahan iklim. Nomor 3, masalah kesehatan. Bagaimana kita bisa mengurangi polusi? Nomor 1, untuk mengatasi masalah ini penggunaan teknologi sangat membantu. Nomor 2, peraturan dapat dibuat untuk membantu memecahkan masalah. Nomor 3, pendidikan lingkungan di sekolah.
大家好，我是7年级的卡纳亚。今天我要介绍中国对全球暖化，特别空气污染的政策。我的研究背景是全球化和可持续发展。我的研究议题是中国可持续发展的政策是怎么样？中国近10年来的发展，除了造成工业大量污染，另外交通污染也随着城市化而增高。这件北京严重的雾霾空气污染，引致不少人民患呼吸道等疾病。中国政府应该专政继续发展，决定追求绿色发展，减少环境污染。现在中国政府鼓励各大城市人民不再使用传统的内燃机汽车，推广电子汽车产品，减少空气污染。各大城市都可以看到充电站和租用汽车站。专家指出，电子汽车增程这虽然明显减少空气污染问题，可是同时也引起其他的问题，比如是电子汽车电池早已回收。另外，电子汽车寿命也不比传统内燃机汽车久，所以要使用电子汽车的人长期来要花更多的钱。这是我的资料来源，这是我的研究过程。谢谢大家。
Good morning, respected principal, teachers, and my dear friends. My name is Kimberly Francis Salim from grade 9B, and today for my exhibition presentation, I am going to be talking about women's rights. Women's rights are human rights, and we are all entitled to human rights. The right to live free from discrimination and violence, the right to get basic healthcare, education, to vote, and to earn an equal wage. But across the globe, many women and girls are still facing discrimination on a daily basis. Many young girls still don't get the chance and opportunity to go to school. For many years, women's rights movements have fought hard to address this inequality, campaigning to change laws or taking to the streets to demand their rights are respected. If you're still wondering, what do we actually mean when we talk about women's rights? What are we actually fighting for? First, women's suffrage. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, people began to agitate the right for women to vote. In 1893, New Zealand became the first country to give women the right to vote on a national level. This movement grew to spread all around the world, and thanks to the efforts of everyone involved in the struggle, women's suffrage is now a right. However, despite these developments, there are still many places around the world where it is very difficult for women to vote. Take Syria for an example, where women have been effectively cut off from political engagement, including the ongoing peace process. In Pakistan, although voting is a constitutional right, in some areas women have been effectively prohibited from voting due to powerful figures in their communities. And in Afghanistan, authorities recently decided to introduce mandatory photo screening at polling stations, making voting problematic for women in conservative areas, where most women cover their faces in public. Second, sexual and reproductive rights. Every woman should be able to make decisions about their own body. They are supposed to be entitled to equal access to health services like contraception and safe abortions. Women should be able to live without fear of gender-based violence, including rape and other sexual violence, forced marriage, forced pregnancy, forced abortion, or forced sterilization. But there's a long way to go until all women can enjoy these rights. Third, freedom of movement. Freedom of movement is the right to move around freely as we please, not just within the country we live in, but also to visit others. But many women face real challenges when it comes to this. They may not be allowed to have their own passports, or they might have to seek permission from a male guardian in order to travel. Now you might ask, how are women's rights being violated? Women's rights are being violated through gender-based violence, sexual violence and harassment, workplace discrimination, and discrimination based on gender identity. Why is it important to stand up for women's rights? It might seem like an obvious point, but we cannot have a free and equal society until everyone is free and equal. Until women enjoy the same rights as men, this inequality is everyone's problem. Now that is all for me. Thank you for listening.
Good morning, respected principals, supervisors, coordinators, and teachers. I am Kenneth Winston from 9B, and today I'll be presenting on air pollution and how does an electric car help reduce air pollution. An air pollution is a type of environmental pollution caused usually by smoke and other harmful gases, particularly like carbon, sulfur, and nitrogen oxides. Strong and fluid particles, as well as some gases trapped in the air, causes air pollution. Particles and gases may come from cars and trucks exhaust, factory pollen, fungi, volcanoes, and wildfires. Here are some ways to reduce air pollution. We could reduce air pollution by planting more trees, using electric vehicles, using environmentally friendly vehicles, by using alternate source of energy and public transport. Now, I'll be explaining deeper on how an electric car can be a help in reducing air pollution. So, an electric car is a car that is propelled by one or more electric motors using energy stored in rechargeable batteries. Here are some benefits of electric car. Electric car is the contribution that they can make towards improving air quality in towns and cities. With no tailpipe, pure electric cars produce no carbon dioxide emission when driving. Electric cars are able to use the electric motor for braking, reducing the need to use the brakes and therefore reducing particle emission. This reduces air pollution considerably.
Here you can see a charging station for electric car. So an electric car is functioned by getting plugged into a charging point, taking the electricity off the grid. These electricity are stored in the rechargeable batteries right below the car. And these rechargeable batteries power the electric motor, making the car move.
Good morning. This is my presentation for the exhibition on trash pollution and marine animals.
The amount of trash that is floating in our seas and washes up on the beaches of the world is unbelievable. It is estimated that close to 15 million tons of plastic wind up in the ocean each year. That is equivalent as if 2 garbage trucks full of plastics were dumped into the ocean every minute. Plastic pollution in the world's oceans is killing turtles, whales, dolphins, seals, fish, coral seabirds, and all forms of marine wildlife. What happens is thousands of innocent animals are entangled in these plastics, choke to death on it, or consume it and die of starvation since it remains in their digestive tracts until they expire. Numbers. Over 100 million marine animals die each year from plastic pollution waste only, not yet including the other trash that aren't plastic. 40 species were represented. 88% were animals listed in the US endangered species list, and they were endangered in the first place, most probably because of this whole plastic problem that has been going on for decades. The problem. The most common trash that has entangled our animals are bags, plastic packing straps, balloon with strings. And these are the materials that involves in ingestion in the animals. Bottle caps, straws, plastic chairs, plastic forks, dental floss, bubble wraps, sponges, sandwich seal bags, and plastic cups. As you can see, all these materials are mostly the materials that we use in our daily lives. And we'll talk more of this later in the solution. Plastics never go away. Instead, they break down into smaller and smaller pieces, which acts as magnets for harmful pollutants. When eaten by fish, some of those chemical-laden microplastics can eventually work their way up to the food chain and then uh, and into the fish that we ourselves eat. So it also impacts us. Um, This problem is a widespread problem, meaning it is largely spread all over the world and happens everywhere. What can be done? The most main thing, and this has been mentioned a lot everywhere, is use fewer plastic products, meaning use fewer disposable products. Carry a reusable water bottle, store food in non-disposable containers, bring your own cloth tote bag or other reusable bag when shopping. Thankfully, the ban on the use of plastic straws and single-use plastic bags for shopping being passed at city and county levels of governments are working. For those of us who are running small businesses that are easier to manage, can also try our best to be aware and use plastic products that are and use plastic products as less as possible. And these are some of the plastic alternatives that we can use: glass, natural fiber cloth, wood, ceramics or pottery, etc. We can set these examples as students to our peers, as parents to our children, one change of habit at a time. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Sanjana and I will be speaking about lab-grown meat. With a rapidly increasing world population resulting in higher wants and excessive industrialization, resources are depleted faster than it can replenish itself. This will unfortunately only leave the future generation with the hope for sustainable development. Now, with an extending demand for meat-based meals, our most favorable livestock industry is converting into a black hole, sucking resources on its way. Worldwide, meat is known to be a more complete source of human nutrition. However, ironically, meat production, on the other hand, can be considered as the most inefficient way to feed a human. And here is why. Our fellow farmers produce a huge number of animals, about 23 billion chicken, 1.5 billion cows, and 1 billion pigs and sheep. So for a maximum of 26.5 billion mouths to feed, 83% of the farmlands are used for the production of pasture, and which makes up 26% of the earth's total land. Along with that, 27% of global fresh water is utilized for the livestock and the plants needed to feed them. However, these inputs provides a very inefficient result. For example, to produce only 1 kg of steak, 25 kg of pasture and 15,000 liters of water is needed, which is a lot of resource. What makes meat even more unsustainable is that it causes 15% of the greenhouse gas emission worldwide. These emissions are produced through the biological processes that causes the release of gas consisting of high amounts of methane, where just 1 kilogram of methane traps dozens of times more heat in the atmosphere. Not only this, but the reality of our beloved meat is harsh and inhumane. Globally, we kill about 200 million animals in a year, where the animals have very little or no regard for life. So what can be done to develop a more sustainable meat source for the world population? Through the advancement of science, a new process of meat production has been introduced, that is lab-grown meat, also known as cultured meat, in which muscle cells from any domestic animal is collected and harvested in a substance that provides it a suitable condition for division. These cells soon merge to form myotubes that are placed around a hub of gel to develop a thick strand of muscle tissue. Multiple number of these tissues are layered to form meat. However, these forms of meats do have a drawback. Cultured meat is blander in taste, paler in color, contributes to carbon dioxide emission, and the substrate used is fetal bovine serum that extracted from unborn serum. That raises several ethical concerns as well as makes it expensive to afford, due to which plant-based meats alternatives are used. But when observing from the greener side, cultured meat reduces unsustainable development, reduces animal cruelty and amount of energy utilized. Let's try to make a small sacrifice of taste to create a more sustainable development for the future. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Seungju Kim from 9B, and this is my exhibition topic, nuclear waste. In this presentation, I will be going over 4 things: how I selected my global issue, the research I did, type of product, and the product itself. Selection of global issue. Nuclear waste. There are 3 main reasons why I chose the topic nuclear waste. Firstly, it was my interest. I was interested in nuclear power plants. I always wanted to know how they worked and what side effects they had. Next, I chose the topic because it was relevant to the current situation, as I heard news about Japan releasing their nuclear waste. I thought it would be a great time to discuss about problems and solutions of nuclear waste. Lastly, I think many people are unaware of such topic. I personally think nuclear power plants will be used for the next few decades. So I think it would be wise if people were educated and became aware of such subject. Research. I have framed 3 research questions which will help me when I make my final product. They are: how nuclear power plants work, how are nuclear waste stored and their problems, what are possible solutions to either get rid of or stop producing nuclear waste. I will be going over the answers in the next 3 slides. You may take screenshots or pause the video if you wish to read. Type of product. Animation is a type of a video which uses moving characters or images to tell a story or convey information. From many types of animation, I chose to make a 2D animation because of its convenience and excellence in conveying information. And now, here is my product. Hope it will help you all, and especially people working in the relevant industries. We live in a world where electricity is not just important but crucial. It powers all our devices in our home, and we can't live without it. As much you will know, electricity is made from burning fossil fuels, and this releases greenhouse gases to our atmosphere, which is a big problem. And so, these days we have a new method of producing energy. It is from harvesting the energy from radioactive elements. Nuclear power plants have a very simple mechanics. When a neutron hits an uranium atom, the atom splits into 2 other isotopes, and this will release energy. Also, in the splitting process, it releases another neutron and hits other uranium atoms nearby. This chain reaction is known as nuclear fission. Nuclear fission takes place inside these metal rods where it is used to control the reaction. Usually, these rods are replaced once in 5 years because the uranium inside is no longer effective. However, these rods do still emit radiation, and that becomes high-level nuclear waste. The high-level nuclear wastes only account for 3% of total nuclear waste. However, it holds 95% of the total radiation. Due to its high radioactivity, the used rods are stored in copper, encapsulated in concrete, and then buried 500 meters underground for 1 to 10,000 years. But here comes the problem. The metal and the concrete covering cannot withstand thousands of years, so they may corrode or crack and leak radioactive elements to their surroundings, such as underground water sources. Since the uranium pellets are covered in so many layers, their volume also increases, so there aren't much space left to store them. If there is a problem, we must look for solutions. The most obvious and effective solution is to slowly transition from nuclear energy to renewable energy, such as solar, wind, and hydro energy. Though they are expensive and not as efficient, technological advances will surely make these resources the future of energy. Thank you for watching.
Good morning. The topic that I will be discussing for today is called artificial blood and how it can be a cure for hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is the loss of blood, and every year about 2 million people die due to the loss of blood and that blood not being replaced in time. In the modern day, when people lose blood, doctors usually provide them with O negative blood because this blood type is a universal donor. But what if someone's in a situation where the hospital is nowhere nearby? This is where artificial blood and one of its features kicks in. The components of blood include red blood cell, plasma, white blood cell, and platelets. An artificial blood consists of cells made from purified human hemoglobin, and those cells are coated with a special synthetic polymer. The synthetic polymer is perfect because the coating is designed to respond to changes in blood pH. So the cells are programmed to pick up oxygen in the lungs where the pH is high and release it where pH is low or where oxygen is low. This is called erythromer. The best part about erythromer is that it can be stored in room temperature as freeze-dried powder, and it can automatically form blood when mixed with water. It can be used in battlefields, space, and even other places where the hospitals are not accessible. And this is how, in the near future, the rates of death due to hemorrhage might reduce. After doing quite a bit of research, I have developed a good understanding of artificial blood and do have a few ideas of my own that maybe could be looked upon in the future, where we have more access to advanced technology. Hopefully, with the help of scientific and technological advancements, anything in the future would be possible. Thank you.
Selamat pagi yang terhormat Bapak Kepala Sekolah, para guru, dan teman-teman sekalian. Topik exhibition saya pada hari ini merupakan masalah remaja yang sedang ramai dibicarakan pada masa kini. Pada saat saya melakukan riset, saya mengetahui beberapa masalah-masalah yang sangat fatal. Salah satunya adalah depresi dan stres. Masalah ini dapat membawa pengaruh berat bagi masa depan remaja-remaja ini. Akibat terburuk dari perihal ini adalah kematian. Timbulnya stres dan depresi ini sendiri karena terlalu banyaknya tekanan yang masuk ke dalam hidup mereka dan kurangnya rasa kasih sayang dan kehangatan dari orang-orang terdekat. Ada juga masalah lain yang kian meronta diperbincangkan dunia orang tua dan para putrinya. Karena bebasnya pergaulan zaman sekarang dan beraninya remaja pada zaman sekarang, banyak sekali korban seks bebas antara remaja. 8 dari 10 putri Indonesia banyak yang hamil di luar pernikahan, sehingga banyak sekali yang ditinggal dan tidak dinafkahi. Terlebih lagi, para putri ini harus putus sekolah dan mengurus anak-anaknya. Hal itu adalah alasan utama mengapa besarnya persentase lulusan sekolah dan kuliah merupakan laki-laki.
Hello everyone, my name is Yukta from 9B, and I have chosen unemployment and food aid as my topic. Unemployment in Indonesia. Due to COVID, a lot of Indonesian citizens have lost their jobs. Indonesia's open unemployment rate has surged to its highest level since 2011, with the pandemic causing 2.67 million people to lose their jobs. In total, 9.77 million people were unemployed by August 2020, up by 37.61% year-on-year from August 2019. Some 29.12 million people, or 14.2% of the country's workforce, have been affected by the pandemic. According to the BPS, from the total 24 million people have worked shorter hours, 1.7 million people have been furloughed, while 2.56 million have lost their jobs. And here is the graph for unemployment in Indonesia due to COVID. As we can see over here, in January 2016 till January 2018, the unemployment rate in Indonesia has decreased. But suddenly, in January 2020, due to COVID, it has increased rapidly. What is food aid? Food aid refers to in-kind food commodities that are shipped from one country to places and most needed. Food aid is a general concept that encompasses both in-kind food donations and market-based programs aimed at combating poverty and malnutrition. It refers to the provision of food or cash to purchase food in times of emergency or to provide longer-term solutions in areas where food shortage exists. Despite the steady economic growth that Indonesia recorded during the pre-COVID-19 pandemic period, the country still faces some critical problems in food security and nutrition. About the fact that food availability has improved and undernutrition has decreased in recent years. Indonesia's nutritional status remains poor by international standards. So what have I done to help? I have distributed around 50 packets in a month around Kemayoran and Sunter. And here are the pictures that have proven that I have done to help. And over here are the bibliographies for the previous graphs. Thank you guys so much for listening to my presentation.
Grade 9B, under the guidance of homeroom teacher Ms. Charmaine Tayal and all your subject teachers and the motivators, supervisors and coordinators and people who keep encouraging you always, your dear parents. Good morning. Boys and girls, as I browse through your exhibition topics, I am indeed impressed. I congratulate you for your glimpse into the world beyond the realms of your classroom. Earlier, you're dealing with disposable plastic bags and the pollution they're causing. Well, mankind thought that plastic bags are a big blessing, but they have turned out to be a big problem. As mankind has failed to dispose them safely, they are finding their way into oceans, landfills, and causing so many problems, marine life and growth of crops and so many things. Earlier, your research is really worthwhile, worth sending to IB also. Well done. Alexandra, young female adolescent health. It's a medical topic, and Alexandra, I congratulate you for taking it up. It will shed more guidance for young females how to look after their health. I congratulate you, Alexandra, for choosing such a nice topic. Arundhati, decline of the Great Barrier Reef. So much nature is involved, hidden in the Great Barrier Reef. And its decline is taking place because of mankind, isn't it, Arundhati? Well, I appreciate your research and your solutions. I'm sure they'll go a long way in guiding the authorities to take care of the Great Barrier Reef. And Atharva, you're dealing with drugs and drug issues. It's absolutely a medical topic. I congratulate you on your research, and I'm sure the guidelines which you are suggesting will help. Well done, Atharva and Cherry. Child poverty. Poverty exists, yes. And when it comes down to child poverty, it is indeed a very sad situation which this world is facing in 21st century. Cherry, hats off to you for taking up a topic and analyzing it. I am sure with your suggestions, this problem will reduce. Chavi, economic growth versus development. Yes, Chavi, the two are linked, economic growth and development, and your analysis is appreciated. Elson, you are dealing with genetic mutation diseases. Indeed a topic which has to be considered carefully, because genetic mutation and the diseases it brings about have to be checked, because it can cause a big problem. So Elson, congratulations. Climate crisis and clean energy is the topic of Edmund. Edmund, I totally agree with you. The two are linked. Energy which is not clean, which is releasing a lot of carbon dioxide, is causing global warming. So Edmund, I'm sure your topic will help to make this world a better place. Young girl, you've chosen a highly medical topic, injections. And I'm sure your research will help in more ways than one. Young girl, well done. And Gavin, you've chosen another highly medical topic of angioplasty, balloon angioplasty. Congratulations on your research. Congratulations. And Gibran, paperless society. Yes, paperless. We are heading in that direction, Gibran. And use of paper, less use of paper, means protection of trees and a better environment. Well, we look forward to your solutions. Hariharan, you are dealing with an issue which concerns the entire planet. Poverty. No nation on planet Earth is devoid of poverty. Poverty is like a pandemic. So Hariharan, your suggestions and your analysis is appreciated. Hubert, you're dealing with clean energy. That's the need of the day. The world needs clean energy to make good health for people, to make the climate be in control to prevent global warming, isn't it? And Joey, you're dealing again with pollution. All these problems are created by man, Joey, isn't it? Man disturbs the environment created by God. So, Joey, we look forward to your solutions. And Kanaya, you are dealing with vehicles which cause pollution. Yes, indeed, science is moving towards, electrical energy, solar energy to drive vehicles. And now there's even hydrogen energy being researched on. So, Kanaya, the world is changing. Man is realizing, and with young people like you giving solutions and suggestions, matters will be expedited. And Kimberly, women's rights. Yes, indeed. Right from Kartini's time and before, women's rights have been violated. So, Kimberly, your research and your suggestions will go a long way in determining the rights of women. And Kenneth, you're dealing with air pollution. Yes, indeed. Air pollution, carbon footprint, carbon dioxide from planes, trains, factories, cars. It has to be put an end to. Yeah, otherwise the world is heading towards a disaster. We don't have another world, so we have to take care, Kenneth. Good topic. And Sanjana, lab-grown meat. Yes, we have to reduce consumption of meat. And by doing so, we'll be protecting our environment. And Sanjana, we look forward to your great suggestions. Seung-jo Kim, nuclear waste. This is a very serious problem. How do we take care of nuclear waste? Because nuclear waste doesn't finish. It stays on and on and on and on. So Seung-jo Kim, your research, your analysis will certainly help to make the world a better place. Shreya, you are dealing with a medical issue, solution of hemorrhage with artificial blood. Oh my God. This is a very, very medical topic. And Shreya, I congratulate you. Carry on with your studies. And Swarali, ecological crisis. Yes, the world is heading towards it. Swarali, I agree. We are disturbing the ecology, and man has to be very careful. Leaders have to be careful. Swarali, when youngsters like you get involved, things will improve. And teen issues. Yes, teenagers have lots of problems. Yes, Virginia, I agree with you. So your analysis will certainly help. And Yukta, unemployment and food aid. Yes, with this pandemic, unemployment has magnified. And there are so many families, so many children who are not even getting 2 square meals, leave alone 2 square meals. Some even don't even get one. It is, Yukta, our common endeavor and prayer that this pandemic vanishes from the planet and life becomes back to normal, which it will by the grace of God. So 9B, your topics are really wonderful. I will request our IB coordinators to send them to IB, that the work which GMIS students are doing is indeed a great service to the society and the world. Well done. Keep it up.